In March of last year, two search and rescue teams in the Adirondacks found the same piece of evidence 8 miles apart on the same day. It was a section of torn fabric from a bright red North Face jacket, distinctive because of a custom patch sewn onto the sleeve. Both teams bagged their evidence separately, photographed it in place, recorded GPS coordinates. When they compared findings at the command post that evening, they realized they'd found identical pieces of the same jacket. Not similar jackets. The same jacket. DNA analysis later confirmed it. The fabric samples had come from a single garment, torn in 2 places, somehow deposited in locations that were 8 miles apart, with a mountain ridge between them. The jacket belonged to a woman named Rebecca Marsh, a day hiker who'd been reported missing 36 hours earlier. When SAR finally located her on the second day of searching, she was alive, confused, and wearing the jacket. The intact jacket. No tears. No missing sections. The fabric pieces in evidence bags matched her jacket perfectly in color, material, and wear patterns. But her jacket had no damage. No missing pieces. No explanation for how parts of it had been found miles away while she was still wearing it whole. Rebecca insisted she'd only been gone 20 minutes. Her watch, her phone, her perception of time all told her she'd been hiking for a brief period. But 36 hours had passed. 2 SAR teams had been deployed. Dozens of volunteers had searched. And somewhere during those 36 hours that felt like 20 minutes to her, pieces of her jacket had appeared in impossible locations while remaining attached to her body. The incident report was classified with a notation that meant unexplained phenomenon. The SAR coordinator who filed it had been doing wilderness rescue for 19 years and had never seen anything like it. She'd found missing people in impossible locations before. She'd dealt with confused hikers who'd lost time, but she'd never found the same evidence in multiple locations simultaneously. Never had physical objects exist in 2 places at once. This is what happened during those 36 hours. Rebecca Marsh was a 38-year-old accountant from Albany. She hiked regularly, usually day trips on well-marked trails. On Saturday morning, she drove to the Adirondack High Peaks region and started up the trail to Cascade Mountain at 9 a.m. It was a popular route, moderate difficulty, with excellent views from the summit. She signed the trail register at the trailhead, noting her intended route and expected return time of 4 p.m. The weather was clear, temperature in the high 40s, light wind, perfect conditions. Rebecca made good time on the ascent, reaching the summit around 11:30. She took photos, ate lunch, enjoyed the view. Several other hikers were at the summit. She chatted briefly with a couple from Massachusetts. Everything was normal. She began her descent at 12:15 p.m. The trail was busy with ascending hikers. She passed multiple groups. Standard trail courtesy, brief greetings, friendly nods. At approximately 12:45, she was about halfway down when she noticed the trail looked different. Not wrong exactly, just unfamiliar. Like she'd somehow gotten on a different path. But she'd been descending steadily, hadn't taken any turns, hadn't left the marked trail. Still, the trees seemed arranged differently. The rocks weren't where she remembered them. The trail surface was rockier than the smooth path she'd ascended. Rebecca stopped and checked her map. According to her GPS, she was on the correct trail, descending normally. But her surroundings didn't match her memory of the ascent. She figured she just wasn't paying attention on the way up. Easy to miss details when you're focused on climbing. She continued down. 10 minutes later, she passed a distinctive boulder she didn't remember from the ascent. It was massive, split down the middle with a young tree growing in the crack. She would have noticed something that striking, would have photographed it. But she had no memory of it, and no photo in her camera roll. She kept walking. The trail descended steadily. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. She realized she hadn't passed any other hikers in the last 15 minutes. On a popular Saturday trail, that was unusual. She should be encountering people constantly. Rebecca checked her phone. The time showed 1:05 p.m. That felt wrong. She'd started descending at 12:15. She should have been walking for maybe 30 minutes, but her phone said 50 minutes. Had she stopped somewhere? Taken a break she didn't remember? She continued descending. The trail conditions changed. What had been a well-maintained path became rougher. More roots, more rocks, drainage problems. This definitely wasn't the trail she'd climbed, but her GPS insisted she was on the correct route, heading toward the trailhead. At 1:20 p.m., she emerged into a small clearing she absolutely didn't recognize. In the center of the clearing was a cairn, a stack of rocks marking something. Cairns usually indicated trail junctions or important landmarks. But there was no junction here. Just the cairn, standing alone in the clearing. Rebecca approached it cautiously. Something about the cairn bothered her. The rocks were stacked precisely, each one balanced perfectly, creating a structure about 4 feet tall. But the top rock was red, bright red, the color of her jacket. She looked down at her sleeve, red North Face jacket, same color as the rock. Except it wasn't a rock, it was fabric. A piece of red fabric, neatly folded, placed on top of the cairn like an offering. Rebecca's heart rate spiked. That was her jacket color, her jacket material. But her jacket was intact. She checked both sleeves, the torso, the back. No tears, no missing pieces. The jacket she was wearing was complete. She reached for the fabric on the cairn. Her hand stopped inches away. Something told her not to touch it. Some instinct screaming that touching it would be wrong. Would be dangerous. She backed away from the cairn and continued down the trail, moving faster now, wanting to get back to familiar territory. Wanting to reach the trailhead and her car and leave. But the trail kept changing. Every time she looked ahead, the path seemed to shift slightly. Trees rearranged. Rocks moved. Like the trail was being rewritten as she walked it. She'd look at a section of path, look down at her feet, look up again, and the path ahead would be subtly different. Rebecca started jogging, not quite running, but moving quickly. The descent seemed endless. She should have reached the trailhead by now, should have been seeing signs of civilization, but the forest just continued, unchanging, yet constantly shifting. At 1:45 p.m. by her phone, though it felt like she'd only been descending for a few more minutes, she found another cairn. Same construction, same precise stacking, and on top, another piece of red fabric, folded identically to the first. This time, Rebecca did touch it. She couldn't help herself. Needed to know if it was real. Her fingers brushed the fabric. It was cold, much colder than the ambient air temperature. And when she touched it, she felt a jolt, like static electricity but deeper, like something had connected through the fabric. Connected to her. She jerked her hand back, and that's when she noticed her sleeve. A small tear, maybe 2 inches long, right where the custom patch was sewn. The tear was fresh, the edges clean, as if cut with scissors, but nothing had touched her sleeve. She'd been careful, hadn't snagged it on anything. Rebecca looked at the fabric on the cairn. It was the same size as the tear in her sleeve, the same shape, and when she looked closer, she could see the edge of her custom patch on the folded fabric. The patch her sister had made for her birthday, one of a kind. She was looking at a piece of her own jacket, a piece that had been removed from her sleeve. But the removal had happened somehow without her feeling it, without her seeing it. The tear in her sleeve and the fabric on the cairn existed simultaneously, as if reality had split and created both versions at once. Rebecca ran. Full sprint down the trail. She had to get out, had to reach the trailhead, had to get away from whatever was happening in this forest. Her breath came in gasps. Her legs pumped. The trail blurred past. She ran for what felt like 5 minutes. Her phone said she'd run for 40 minutes. Impossible. She wasn't that fit. Couldn't maintain a sprint for 40 minutes. But her phone didn't lie. The timestamp advanced. 1:45 became 2:25. Time was moving wrong. She stopped to catch her breath. Looked around. She was in another clearing, and in the center was another cairn. Same construction, same precise stacking. Same piece of red fabric on top. But this time there were 3 pieces, 3 identical sections of red North Face jacket material, each with a portion of her custom patch visible, each folded the same way, each placed with ceremony on the rocks. Rebecca looked at her jacket. 3 tiers now, both sleeves, one on the back panel, fresh tiers, clean edges, appearing without cause, without contact. Her jacket was being deconstructed piece by piece, and the removed sections were appearing on cairns ahead of her, on a trail that shouldn't have cairns. She spun in a circle, trying to orient herself, trying to figure out which direction led to the trailhead. But the forest looked the same in every direction. No trail markers, no blazes, just trees and rocks, and the cairn in the center of the clearing with pieces of her clothing arranged on top like a puzzle. "Hello?" she called out. Maybe another hiker could help, could explain what was happening, could show her the way out. Her voice echoed strangely, not like a normal forest echo. It came back layered, multiple versions of her voice overlapping, some delayed, some immediate, creating a chorus of hellos that went on too long. Rebecca picked a direction and walked, not running now, just walking steadily, trying to stay calm, trying to think logically. She was lost. She'd gotten turned around. The cairns were a coincidence. The jacket tiers were from snagging on branches she hadn't noticed. The time distortion was stress, all explainable. But 30 feet ahead she saw herself. Not a reflection, not a hallucination. Herself, Rebecca Marsh, wearing a red North Face jacket, walking toward her from the opposite direction. Both Rebecca stopped. Both stared. The other Rebecca looked as shocked as she felt. Same expression, same posture, same everything. Because it was her, exactly her. "What," Rebecca started to say, "is happening?" The other Rebecca finished simultaneously. They'd spoken the same words at the same time, same inflection, same timing, perfect synchronization. Rebecca took a step back. The other Rebecca took a step back. Mirror movements. She raised her hand. The other raised hers. But they weren't mirroring. They were both moving independently, both having the same thought at the same instant, both responding identically. "This isn't real," Rebecca said. "This isn't real," the other Rebecca said. Same words, same moment. Rebecca closed her eyes, counted to 10. When she opened them, the other Rebecca was gone. The trail ahead was empty. But where the other Rebecca had been standing, there was now a cairn, and on top of it, a complete red North Face jacket, folded neatly. Her jacket. But she was wearing her jacket. She looked down to confirm. Yes, still wearing it, still intact, except for the 3 tiers. But ahead of her was a complete version of the same jacket, placed on rocks, arranged carefully. She approached it slowly, touched it, felt the familiar material. Saw the custom patch, undamaged. This was her jacket. But her jacket was on her body. Both existed. Both were real. Rebecca grabbed the jacket from the cairn, held it up. Compared it to the one she was wearing. Identical. Same wear patterns on the cuffs. Same small stain on the hem from coffee she'd spilled last month. Same everything. 2 versions of one jacket. She put the cairn jacket on over the one she was already wearing, now wearing 2 copies of the same unique jacket. The redundancy should have felt wrong, should have felt impossible, but in this forest, impossibility had become normal. A sound made her turn. Footsteps, multiple footsteps, voices, people calling a name, calling her name. "Rebecca Marsh, can you hear us?" Search and rescue, thank God. She was saved. They'd found her. She started running toward the voices, shouting back. Here, I'm okay." She crashed through underbrush toward the sound. The voices got louder. Closer. She could see orange vests through the trees. SAR team members, spreading out in a search pattern. She burst into a clearing where 3 team members were examining the ground. They looked up at her approach. "Rebecca Marsh?" one of them asked. "Yes, I'm Rebecca. I'm lost. The trail. Something's wrong with the trail." The SAR member looked confused. "Ma'am, we've been searching for you for 36 hours. You were reported missing yesterday morning." "No," Rebecca said. "No, I just started descending." "It's been maybe an hour. My phone says—" She checked her phone. The screen showed Sunday, 2 p.m. "That's wrong. It's Saturday. I summited around noon. I've only been descending for—" "It's Sunday," the SAR member said gently. "Sunday afternoon. You've been missing since Saturday morning. Your car has been at the trailhead overnight. We've had multiple teams searching." Rebecca stared at him. Sunday, 36 hours. But she'd only been hiking for how long? An hour? 2? Her memory was foggy. How long had she been walking? How many cairns had she found? How many times had she seen herself? "I don't understand," she said. "I was just on the trail. I was descending normally. But things kept changing. The trail kept changing. And there were cairns with pieces of my jacket. And I saw myself. I saw me walking toward me." The SAR team members exchanged glances. One of them spoke into his radio. "Base, this is Team 2. We have Rebecca Marsh. She's alive and ambulatory. Appears confused. Possible head injury or dehydration. Requesting medical evac." "Wait," Rebecca said. "Look." She held out her arm, showing the tear in her sleeve. "The cairns had these pieces of my jacket. But I am wearing my jacket. It's intact. Mostly intact. But the pieces were on cairns. You must have found them. You must have found the cairns." Another SAR member, a woman with gray hair and a kind face, stepped forward. "Rebecca, I need you to stay calm. You've been through something traumatic. We're going to get you out of here and checked by medical personnel. Can you walk?" "I can walk," Rebecca said. "But I'm telling you, something's wrong with this forest. The trail changes. Time moves wrong. There are cairns that shouldn't exist. And pieces of my jacket are." "We found pieces of your jacket," the gray-haired woman said quietly. "Team 1 found a piece 8 miles north of here." "We found a piece 2 miles east. Both pieces matched your description. Both had your custom patch. That's how we knew you were in this area. The evidence led us to you." Rebecca felt cold. "But I'm wearing my jacket. How did you find pieces of it if I'm still wearing it?" "We don't know," the woman admitted. "That's part of why we've been searching so extensively. The evidence didn't make sense. But right now, what matters is getting you out safely. Can you walk with us?" Rebecca nodded. She let them lead her through the forest. But as they walked, she kept seeing things that didn't match. The SAR team members would point to a trail marker, but she saw a cairn. They'd reference a landmark, but she saw the same trees repeated. They'd check their GPS and confirm position, but the coordinates felt wrong to her, like they were walking in circles, even though the team insisted they were making progress toward the trailhead. It took 3 hours to reach the parking area. 3 hours that felt like 20 minutes to Rebecca. The SAR team stopped multiple times to rest. She didn't feel tired. Didn't feel like 3 hours had passed. Her internal clock said they'd walked for 15 or 20 minutes at most. When they emerged at the trailhead, the sun was setting. Sunday evening. 39 hours after she'd started her hike, her car was there, exactly where she'd left it. Except it was covered in a layer of pollen that suggested much more than 1 day had passed. The windshield had a parking ticket. Overnight parking violation. Proof the time had moved normally for everyone except her. Paramedics checked her vital signs, blood pressure normal, heart rate normal, temperature normal. She wasn't dehydrated, wasn't showing signs of exposure, wasn't injured beyond some minor scratches and the tears in her jacket. For someone who'd been missing in the wilderness for 36 hours, she was in remarkably good condition. They took her to the hospital anyway. Standard protocol. The doctors ran tests. CT scan of her brain. Normal. Blood work. Normal. Neurological exam. Normal. They kept her overnight for observation. She slept fitfully, dreaming of cairns and walking trails that rearranged themselves, and seeing her own face approaching from the opposite direction. In the morning, the SAR coordinator came to interview her, the gray-haired woman from the forest. She introduced herself as Linda Patterson, 15 years with Wilderness Rescue. "Rebecca," Linda said, sitting beside the hospital bed. "I need to ask you some specific questions about what you experienced. And I need you to be completely honest, even if it sounds strange." "Okay," Rebecca said. "Did you feel like you were in multiple places at once?" Rebecca blinked. "What?" "During your time in the forest, did you ever feel like you were experiencing the same moment from different positions? Like your consciousness was split?" I saw myself walking toward me. We spoke at the same time, said the same words. How did you know?" Linda pulled out a folder. Inside were photographs. Evidence photos. She showed Rebecca the first one. A piece of red fabric, photographed in place beside a trail. GPS coordinates stamped on the image. Timestamp, Saturday, 4:17 p.m. "Team 1 found this," Linda said, 8 miles north of where we found you." She showed the second photo, another piece of red fabric. Different location. Different GPS coordinates. Timestamp, Saturday, 4:23 p.m. "Team 2 found this, 6 miles east of your location. Both pieces are from your jacket." DNA confirmed it, but look at the timestamps. Rebecca looked. 6 minutes apart. 2 teams, miles apart, finding pieces of her jacket within 6 minutes of each other. "That's impossible," Rebecca said. "Yes," Linda agreed. "But it happened. And there's more." She showed another photo. A cairn. Precise stacking. Familiar construction. Team 3 found this. 2 miles west of where we located you. They photographed it but didn't disturb it. Look at what's on top. Rebecca looked. A red jacket. Her jacket. Complete. Folded. Placed on the cairn. "But I was wearing my jacket," Rebecca said. "I'm still wearing it. It's in the bag with my other belongings. How can there be another one?" "We don't know," Linda said. But when Team 3 went back the next day to collect the jacket for evidence, it was gone. The cairn was still there. But the jacket had disappeared. Linda put the photos away, looked at Rebecca seriously. "I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen a lot of strange things in these mountains. People found in impossible locations, time distortions, confusion about duration and distance. But I've never seen evidence exist in multiple places simultaneously. Never had physical objects duplicate. You're not the first person to report seeing yourself, but you're the first one who we found with proof that something genuinely impossible happened." "What does it mean?" Rebecca asked. "I don't know," Linda admitted, "but I can tell you this. The area where we found you, where the cairns appeared, where your jacket pieces materialized, that area has a history. 7 missing person cases in the last 12 years. All in the same general region, all-day hikers, all experienced. None of them were ever found." Rebecca felt sick. "You think I was supposed to be number 8. "I think something in that forest wanted you," Linda said. "But unlike the others, you came back. You're the first one who came back, and I think that's significant." Rebecca was discharged later that day. She went home, tried to return to normal life, but normal had changed. Time felt wrong, not constantly, but in moments. She'd sit down to read for a few minutes and find an hour had passed, or she'd work for what felt like hours and find only 10 minutes had elapsed. Her internal clock had been damaged by whatever happened in the forest. And she had dreams, constant dreams of walking, of descending trails that changed, of finding cairns with pieces of herself arranged on top, of seeing her own face approaching from the distance. In the dreams, She could feel herself in multiple locations simultaneously, could feel her consciousness spread across different positions in the forest, all existing at once. 3 weeks after the incident, Rebecca received a call from Linda Patterson. 2 more hikers had gone missing in the same area. The Park Service had closed the region to hiking, posted warnings about dangerous terrain conditions. But the real reason was classified. The real reason was that the forest was doing something impossible, was creating multiple versions of reality, was trapping people in loops where time and space behaved wrong. "I wanted you to know," Linda said, "because you're the only one who came back. You're the only one who survived it. And I think you survived because somehow you existed in enough places at once that the forest couldn't hold all of you. Some version of you got out, became the dominant version, but the others are still there," Rebecca finished. "Still walking, still descending, still finding cairns." "Maybe," Linda said. "We don't know. But if you ever feel the pull to go back, if you feel drawn to that area, please call me immediately. Promise me." Rebecca promised, but she could already feel it. The pull, the urge to return, to finish the descent, to find out what happens when you reach the bottom of a trail that has no bottom, when you find the last cairn, when all your versions converge. She hasn't gone back yet, but she knows she will, because part of her never left. Part of her is still there, walking in circles, convinced she's only been gone 20 minutes. Finding pieces of herself arranged on stones like offerings to something that lives in the spaces between moments, in the forests that exist in multiple places at once. And sometimes late at night she can feel what that other version of herself is feeling, can sense her still walking, still descending, still searching for a trailhead that exists in every location and no location, still wearing a jacket that has been torn apart and remains intact. Both states true simultaneously in a forest where impossible things are the only things that make sense.